I'm going to make things really easy and give you the 4-step plan that I use with clients to help them reverse insulin resistance and prediabetes and repair their metabolism for good. The thing with insulin resistance is that because it is a condition that's caused by diet and lifestyle, it can be reversed by diet and lifestyle. And the changes you have to make are honestly not that extreme. You don't need to go on a crash diet and feel miserable. My approach focuses on small, practical changes you can make so you can achieve your goals and feel your best for years to come. So let's get into it, shall we? Step number 1 is to be smart about carbs. And no, that doesn't mean you have to cut them out of your diet entirely. Being smart about carbs is key for reversing insulin resistance. And this is because of the relationship between carbohydrates, blood sugar, and insulin. When we eat foods rich in carbohydrates, this can be simple or complex, they are broken down into sugar molecules. This sugar enters our bloodstream and our blood sugar goes up. As a result of this increase in blood sugar, our body releases insulin, which is the hormone responsible for taking the excess sugar from our bloodstream to our cells. Insulin's role is basically to help keep our blood sugar at baseline. Now, this is a normal and healthy function of the body. We need insulin in order to control our blood sugar. However, when we eat too many carbohydrates throughout the day, too frequently, and we don't need the energy, then this is when our cells start to resist the actions of insulin. Hence the name, insulin resistance. And insulin resistance causes our insulin levels to remain high for longer periods of time than they should. Ideally, after we eat, after the sugar is taken from our bloodstream to our cells, insulin levels should go back down to baseline. But if our cells aren't taking in the glucose properly, if they're not responding to insulin, then our body releases more insulin as a result. And this excess insulin is enough to keep our blood sugar managed for a bit, to keep our blood sugar looking normal. But after several years, this excess insulin isn't enough. And that's when our blood sugar levels start to creep up. But insulin resistance starts years before our blood sugar gets to the point of being pre-diabetic. And it is these high levels of insulin that cause damage to the body and lead to the associated side effects, including abdominal fat, skin tags, acne, hair loss, and more. So what we want to do is rebuild our cells' sensitivity to insulin so that it starts reacting to insulin in the way that it should and taking in glucose properly. And yes, reducing carbohydrates in general is a very effective strategy. This has been shown in numerous studies. Ideally, if you can keep your carbs to under 100 grams per day, even better if you can keep them below 50. But if that is out of the question for you, then being smart about them is an effective strategy as well. Okay, but I'm sure you're thinking, what on earth am I talking about when I say to be smart about carbs? Well, here are a few ways to do that. The first is to never eat them in isolation. Because carbohydrates, and particularly simple carbohydrates, are broken down rapidly by the body, when we eat them on their own, this causes a big spike in blood sugar and a big spike in insulin. But if we add some protein and/or fat, this helps to slow down just how quickly they are digested. The blood sugar response is going to be a lot more gradual. And because it's more gradual, this means that less insulin is needed all at once. And this, of course, helps to improve insulin sensitivity. So if you're eating carbs, always try to make sure you're pairing them with protein and fat. The second way to be smart about carbs is to eat them around exercise, either before or after. This allows your body to use the energy from the carbohydrates immediately, resulting in a lower blood sugar spike. And when we're exercising, our cells actually don't need insulin in order to take in glucose, which of course is even better for insulin sensitivity. Now, when I say exercise, I'm not referring to some high-intensity hard workout. This can be as simple as taking a walk around the block, doing a couple squats, doing a few jumping jacks, anything along those lines. And the third way you can be smart about carbs is by pairing them with nutrients in the form of supplements usually that also help to improve insulin sensitivity. Two really common ones that I often recommend to people are berberine and chromium. These have both been scientifically proven to improve insulin sensitivity and allow our cells to take in more glucose. Vinegar is another substance that helps to do this. Usually people drink it in the form of apple cider vinegar. All you need is 1 tablespoon diluted in water. You can have that before, with, or after your meal. Before is going to be the most effective. So you can use this strategy if you know you're going to eat a meal that is higher in carbohydrates. Either take apple cider vinegar, berberine, or chromium beforehand. And I will link to some of my favorite products in the description box down below. When you're smart about your carbs, this means your blood sugar is going to be more stable. Less insulin is going to be needed throughout the day, and insulin sensitivity will improve. Step number 2 is to dial in your sleep. When we sleep is when our insulin sensitivity really improves. So if we're not getting enough sleep on a consistent basis, then we're really going to struggle to see results. Studies have shown that even after just 1 night of poor sleep, insulin resistance increases the whole next day. And this applies even in people who aren't insulin resistant to begin with. So if you are already insulin resistant, you can only imagine how much worse this is. Now, there are 3 components to good sleep. You need to be getting enough, it needs to be good quality, and it needs to be consistent. Consistency is key when it comes to sleep. You need to be trying to go to bed at the same time every night and try to wake up at the same time every morning, within at least a 1-hour window. Now, of course, the odd day here and there, that's not going to totally derail your progress, but the more consistent you can be, the better. Now, if you have trouble falling asleep, I'm going to give you one really quick, easy hack that is free. You want to get sunlight exposure as soon after waking as possible. And this can't be through windows or your windscreen in your car. This needs to be direct sunlight, so you need to get outside. Now, of course, don't look directly at the sun, but you just need to be outside. Your eyes need to be exposed to the light, and this helps to sync our circadian rhythm. When we get this sunlight exposure in the morning, this starts a timer for when melatonin, the sleep hormone, is going to be released later that evening. The earlier we can get sunlight exposure in the morning, the better we're going to sleep that night. And it only takes about 10 to 20 minutes of this exposure, depending on what the weather is and where you live. Of course, if it's cloudy, you're gonna have to stay out for longer in order to get the same beneficial effects, but you still can get them, even if the weather's bad. It almost sounds too good to be true just because of how easy it is, but give it a try and let me know if you do in the comments down below. On the flip side of this, you also want to limit your light exposure after sunset, because if we're exposed to artificial blue light after sunset, this can trick our bodies into thinking it's still daytime, and this can actually suppress melatonin when it's supposed to be released. So turn off your overhead lights. If you're staring at any devices, laptops, phones, anything like that, pop on a pair of blue light blocking glasses. This is going to help as well, but try out the morning sunlight exposure one. Dial in your sleep because it's going to be really hard to see results if you don't. Step number 3 is to stop snacking. As we already discussed, large influxes in blood sugar throughout the day mean we require a lot of insulin, and when we're snacking in between meals, this basically just means that our insulin levels are always high. They don't have a chance to come back down to baseline. Now, I know a lot of people feel like they need to snack in between their meals, and in order to avoid these snacks, you just need to be eating more during your meals and more of the right foods. And the key here is to eat more protein. Most people are not eating enough protein at their meals, and this is causing hunger and cravings in between. You want to be getting a bare minimum of 30 grams of high quality protein, ideally from animal sources, in at every single meal. Now, most women are probably getting, I think it's something like 10 to 15 grams at a meal. And when I say 30 grams, this is the bare minimum. Ideally, men and women, you want to be getting between 40 to 50 grams. But I say 30 is the minimum because I know most people aren't hitting that, like I said, so this is a good starting point. Protein is key for satiety. When we don't get enough protein in at our meals, this is when we experience hunger and cravings a few hours later. So hit your protein goal, and I promise you, you're gonna see a big difference in your urge to snack. And finally, step number 4 is to lift some weights. Now, we mentioned exercise when we were talking about how to be smart about carbs. And again, this doesn't need to be intense. Even body weight resistance training can be effective. The reason that lifting weights and resistance training is so helpful for insulin resistance is because the more muscle mass we have, the more room our body has to store glucose. And this helps to reverse insulin sensitivity because it means that the glucose can be more spread out and less insulin will be needed. Again, body weight exercise is totally fine, push-ups, squats, anything like that. And if you are lifting weights, it doesn't have to be very heavy. Just do some form of resistance training. And this combined with low intensity exercise, such as walking, such as swimming, this really is the golden combo. Now, high intensity exercise, it does have a place, but if it's chronic, if you are going on long runs, on long bike rides, and your heart rate is above that zone 2 zone, this can actually make insulin resistance worse. Short duration, high intensity exercise, such as sprints or HIIT training, this can improve insulin sensitivity, but it only needs to be done once a week. Much more than that, and you start to take away from the benefits. Because the benefits of high intensity training happen when you're actually able to push to your max. So if you're doing it multiple times per week, you're not able to do that and you're not getting the benefits. And once again, if your sleep isn't in check, then you're not going to be able to recover properly. And again, that's only going to take away from your goal of improving your insulin sensitivity. But honestly, I know that high intensity exercise is out of the question for a lot of people. There's been videos in the past where I mentioned sprinting and some of the comments think I'm absolutely insane. And that's totally okay because like I said, resistance training, even with body weight and low intensity exercise, that's going to be key. And that is the 4-step plan that I use in order to help clients reverse insulin resistance. Now, I want to hear from you guys in the comment section down below. Which of these steps is going to be the hardest for you to implement and why? If I can help you out and provide some solutions, I will. So leave a comment down below and I'll try to help you out. Thanks guys for watching and I will see you next time. Bye.